everyone. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Planning Board on August 12th, 2024 at 6:32 p.m. Well, we're all here for the quorum, so I'm going to proceed that way. We just that you're here.
Carol Hobbs is present.
Robert Darian present.
Andrew Shepherd present.
And Laura Schifrin present. Lansing Finale is absent with notice. And possibility of our alternate will be coming. Would you all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I feel lately that I want to really say those words.
Yeah.
And I want to thank all of our veterans, both present, well, all of our veterans, military, as well as all of our emergency responders, first responders. And just thank you again for your service and our freedoms. The meeting is being recorded and will appear on the YouTube channel. Not sure, but it will appear there. I do not have any chairman's additions or deletions at this time. And do you have anything there? But I think at this time I will, if it's okay with you guys, I will discuss the last paragraph on the agenda. And when the agendas are posted, they include an explanation of the items on the agenda. And I will read that for the record tonight. And it has not been read before. Votes may be taken at any time during the meeting. The listing of topics that the chair reasonably anticipates will be discussed at the meeting is not intended as a guarantee of topics that will have been discussed. Not all topics listed may in fact be discussed, and other topics not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. So, do you have that list? Okay. And there is a list. I've asked for it to be printed, and for tonight's meeting and minutes, I am reading them into the record. So, and there are 10. In Massachusetts, public bodies may enter executive session for specific reasons outlined in the open meeting law. Here are the 10 permissible reasons for entering executive session. In other words, if somebody wants to bring up a topic that's not on the agenda, but the board feels that it should be discussed, we may go into executive session for the following reasons. To discuss an individual's reputation, character, physical condition, or mental health, excluding professional competence. 2, for strategy sessions related to negotiations with non-union personnel or collective bargaining. 3, to discuss strategy regarding collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting could harm the public body's position. 4, to address security personnel deployment or strategies. 5, to investigate criminal misconduct or consider filing criminal complaints. 6, to discuss real property purchase, exchange, lease, or value negotiations. 7, to comply with laws or federal grant in aid requirements. 8, to interview applicants for employment or appointment by a preliminary screening committee. 9, to meet with a mediator regarding litigation or public business involving another party. And 10, to discuss trade secrets or confidential information related to energy supply activities. So those are the only reasons that the chair could ask that we go into executive session. Other than that, I would say that you can't discuss anything that hasn't been noticed in the agenda. Okay?
Has that been an issue?
No, but I had a question and, from a board member about addressing an issue, and that wasn't on the agenda.
I get you.
So that, gave me one question
Sure.
to ask Beth, but then after I read the minutes, I noticed the last paragraph of the agenda,
Yeah.
which refers to that. So we've never read that before, so I thought
Sure,
that now it's read into the record. Okay, so thank you for your indulgence. We were sent the minutes of July 22nd, meeting minutes. I have read them. I read them. Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes with a second.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of July 22nd, 2024.
Is there a second?
Second?
Okay, so it's moved by, oh. All right, moved by Carol and seconded by Andrew. Any discussion? Corrections, deletions, or amendments? No, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. And then Beth's report is next. It's 6:45. 6 minutes, so I'm gonna let her give the administrative report. Actually, I have, so maybe I'll start it. Same time, right? All right, administrative report, 1, applications, anticipated applications. A, 27 Scales Lane is ongoing, request for certificate of completion pending. The owner updated that final as-built of stormwater management system will be submitted next week. And the board can expect to act on the certificate on the August 12th planning board meeting. Okay.
Oh, it's 12.
Today's the 12th.
We'll have to see what Beth says
Okay.
about that.
B, 22 Main Street, ongoing board extended the special permit to October 7th by unanimous vote at the July 22nd meeting. You know that. C, 108 Fitchburg Road, pending age restricted development and stormwater management, continue to 7/22 and 8/12 tonight, and they're next. D, Campbell Farm, open space preservation development, request for certificate of completion, stormwater management permit action required at the August 26th meeting, which I won't be here. Staff waiting for storm event to evaluate stormwater management system performance per the regulations. Will also conduct a final municipal certificate of completion, site visit, and checklist. 2, interdepartmental approvals, there's nothing on the list. 3, building permit applications reviewed and approved. 1 Birch Memorial, 1 John Birch Memorial addition and deck. And then 4 A 98 to 100. Do you want to take over now? On your administrative report, we're down to 4.
Sure, thank you. 98 to 100 West Meadow Road. The owner has been advised that stormwater management permit is required. 22 Main Street, Westbound Veterinary Clinic. The planning board granted an extension of the site plan.
Oh, we did that.
I'm sorry. So down to 5 then, miscellaneous?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Miscellaneous, there is a special, this is not really miscellaneous, this is big news, special town meeting, Tuesday, August 20th, 2024 at 7 p.m. The warrant is on the town website and in your meeting packets, and Andrew also has a printed copy if anybody wants to take a look. And we look forward to welcoming Nelson Lee as Townsend's new town administrator to town on August 26, 2024. Town Council advisory on the Affordable Homes Act. On Tuesday, the governor signed into law the so-called Affordable Homes Act. The legislation includes various provisions, including many amendments to Chapter 40A, i.e. the Zoning Act, relevant to the administration of local housing and land use matters. Included in your meeting packet is an advisory that summarizes and offers the town council's perspective on key provisions of the new law. Master plan ongoing. The Energy Committee goals have been received. Oh, sorry. Energy Committee goals. They're being processed and reviewed, and the Townsend Energy Committee has posted a meeting for this Wednesday, and we expect that they will be discussing those goals amongst themselves and updating the planning board and land use coordinator of any changes. And at that time, the land use coordinator will be providing a report for board feedback on the status of the master plan. So the hazard mitigation plan and the MVP plan, and ongoing. There's some good news there. Congratulations to Townsend for receiving an MVP action grant for a climate resilient drainage master plan of $154,500. That's big news. So, and then the next step is the update for the 2020 MVP HMP plan is we're going to need to get underway on that, because we would like to avoid a lapse in the approved plan status and grant eligibility when the current plan expires at the end of the year 2025. So the board should talk about the update. And the MBTA communities, law zoning compliance ongoing, that will be discussed. Planning board member SharePoint resource folder is always being updated with learning opportunities and review. And the Townsend Fishburne Shuttle continues to effectively run.
Okay, thank you, Beth. And just to reiterate, Carol motioned and Andrew seconded, and the minutes were approved. But we'll hear that, it'll be on record. Okay, so we are at 6:45, continuation of the public hearing for 108 Fitchburg Road. So,
So, thank you for having us, Chris Stoddard, Stoddard Engineering, on behalf of the applicant, Phil Colometta. Since we last spoke, I have revised the plans and they were submitted to the board. I believe Mr. Walsh is on the call. He was the reviewing engineer. Based on his original letter, I revised the plans, sent them back. He has sent a subsequent letter saying all the revisions were completed to his satisfactory. In the plans, we did include the dumpster location. Do you have a copy? Those lines. Do
do we have all those here?
updated copy?
You should have a copy right there. Yeah, there you go.
We did show a dumpster location on the site. So we did, like I said,
Hartley, could you give Beth screen sharing abilities, please?
Okay, hold on, please.
Thank you.
Okay, she should have the screen sharing capability now.
on page 3 too. On page 3. That's the old set. That's not the revised one. Perfect. Okay, like I said, per our discussion, I did show a location for the dumpster. Concrete pad with a fence around it, a screening fence, so we're not obviously having to look at that. We did also add a 5-foot walkway in the front of the building there, so that way people can get to it without having to, either walk through the grass, the snow, or on the road. And then I know one of your concerns was the elevation of the walkway. So what we did is we have added elevation numbers to confirm that we stay under the ADA 2% threshold. So we did that. We added those on all the walkways, on all of the buildings. We did make a note, because I know one of the comments from Jessica was questioning if these trees were being planted or removed. So we made the note that these trees will be removed, the ones along the road there. Also, the common mailbox for the entire development per the, it'll be outside the layout, obviously, and per the postmaster. So that's where that will go. I think we addressed the concerns, I believe, of the board. Can't think of anything else that we had to add or change. I guess Jeff is here. He can speak to, obviously, folks have the letter, but issue. He's here to answer any questions.
Was there a question about addressing all of the referral comments
Well, that's the board's work session or your discussion.
after the presentation?
You can ask the applicant. Up to you.
Yeah, and I think we did provide comments or responses to all the questions from the different.
Board of Health.
Board of Health, I think their only comment was that the plans have to be submitted by them, to them for approval. And we're doing that actually tomorrow morning.
Oh, so for the pool?
Oh, the pool. We can talk about the pool.
Yeah, you might as well. 'Cause
So I guess Phil can speak to it a little bit more, but he did meet Kara out there. They went over it. At this point, what we're going to do with the pool is just give it to one unit, dedicated to that one unit, so it won't be considered a semi-public or semi-private.
Uh-huh.
It'll be just a private pool for that one unit. He is looking into getting prices. There's a few minor things that would need to be done to bring it up to semi-private status. It's a semi-private or semi-public? Semi-public. Semi-public status. It's not a heavy lift, but at this point, just to keep the project moving forward, we're just going to dedicate it to that one unit, because this unit right here has direct access through the walkout basement.
Mhm.
So it only
Yeah.
makes sense to dedicate it to
I know
that
that.
one unit.
Yeah.
So that's where we stand with the pool. So
How did you determine where the dumpster should be located?
that's where it is currently. So we figured it just made sense to leave it right where it was.
Well, it doesn't seem like it's gonna be beneficial to all
Well,
the tenants here.
Yeah, but we figured, I mean, it's not even with a fence around it. I mean, you know what it is. Putting it right here in the middle, it's kind of right in the middle of everything. We didn't think it made sense over here. The grading drops off on both sides. Like we said, we added the walkway to try to keep it.
Isn't this an age housing project?
Correct, yes.
Well, wouldn't you think it'd be pretty difficult for someone to get all the way up there?
We figured having to walk would be better than them wanting to look at the dumpster right in front of the building.
I don't think that, it's not considering the people living there.
I mean, we can move it. Really, I guess the centrally located spot would be right here. We just didn't think it would look nice. We're trying to, the aesthetics of the site, we're trying to balance both of them.
Can I chime in on that too? Yeah.
Yes, sure.
The dumpster company right now really wants it right there too. Because it's the best spot for them to back in, back out.
Oh,
Well, I look at the driveway, and the new driveway you're putting in is gonna be wider than what's there, so Uh, I don't think that's appropriate location for the people who are gonna be living there and the type of people who are gonna be living there.
Who's the company?
The client, the tenant right now, that's, I think it's.
Oh, the dumpster
The
company.
dumpster company, yeah. I think they might be Marty, I think. Not really sure. What do you suggest?
Well, I mean, you're gonna be selling these. That could be a problem with the buyer. Secondly, you're asking for aged housing here. And if I were down here, how am I supposed to take 2 trash rolls up there?
When you go to respect those,
Or then every day, if I'm supposed to take a bag up every day?
you're gonna take the mail down to the end too. I mean, if you go down probably Fitchburg Road, those big brick buildings over there, the dumpsters can't be right next to every entrance.
Well,
They're gonna be wanting to.
the board can look at that, but I'm not happy with that.
We have 12 totes, 16 totes,
Um,
each garage have totes, and that doesn't make sense.
I'm sorry.
If every unit has a tote,
if they went with the tote route, then you'd have to bring your totes from here out to the road. Totes are heavier, 12 totes lined up on the side of that road, we didn't think made, again, it's the aesthetics and the practicality of having 12 totes over there with a snow truck goes by and blows them all over.
Your task here is to present to this board something that makes sense. Why you selected here doesn't seem to be a priority other than convenience, and it's already there. We're looking at this, and you're asking for this application for a specific profile. And where this suits the needs of the type of people who are going to be living here. That's my opinion. And I don't know how much this board thinks that's a priority. The mailboxes are another thing. It's a 5-minute walk. You're not carrying anything of any weight. I think the occupants here can tolerate that. But I wouldn't be spending a lot of money here knowing I have to take my trash all the way up there. But, so you have, I'm just thinking, what are the priorities here? And what are we as a community trying to do? You're asking us to allow you to have this type of as a special permit. And then you show me something that doesn't match what your purpose is supposed to be. That's my comment. I have nothing more to say.
In terms of the dumpster, I certainly can't, on the younger age end, someone who wouldn't be able to buy a home here. I'm not sure how somebody of whatever age restriction and above would feel about that, but I would certainly think it would be somewhat solvable with a cart you could throw your bag in. I mean, it's got to be like 1 or 2 bags a week, which I think wouldn't be crazy. And I would think worst case, if this is the design they choose to go with, and residents or potential buyers recognize it, he won't be able to get the price that he's hoping to get. So he's got some price incentive to, try to make it attractive. And if it doesn't, it probably won't sell.
The only thing I could add, and how this would come out, is that no matter what age group, in any of the other, say, condos that we do have in town, the dumpsters are not near the buildings. And everybody has to walk to the dumpster. I mean, I like the idea of the cart kind of thing, like you wouldn't carry it necessarily yourself, but you would drag
Pull it.
your whatever
Yeah.
there.
Phil can provide one every one he sells, so we give the property back. to the buyer.
So a company like D&D Dumpster, actually does back into condominiums, and they do our stores, they'll back in, they'll leave the garage door open or give them a code, they'll take the trash right off. So if these potential clients want to go that route, if it seems like an overburden to walk 100 feet to a dumpster, they can go that route also. We'll just provide a general area if they want to use it.
I mean, the kind of mailbox area seems to be more centralized, but I don't know that you could, I don't know if that would be a place that you could put the dumpster. I mean, I like it that you're gonna do the walkway through so that, you know, then not have to worry about
Yeah.
losing your balance or whatever
Yeah,
like
and
that.
obviously walking down Fitchburg Road didn't make sense, so.
No.
I have some other buildings, and the biggest complaint with my dumpsters are the smell of them. And we actually have like a larger dumpster and we do it weekly. So like keeping them away from the building might be beneficial in that aspect.
And
I
I think that
understand.
that's why most places don't have them near the
My point
buildings.
is there's a lot of open space here. And these things can be screened with landscape. They don't necessarily have to be close to a building, but I think they should be at least common to all the people. And again, I'm just bringing this up to people's attention. But, you know, there's a lot of open space here.
Where would you put it?
Yeah, I was just gonna say the same thing.
This
Where?
this all
This all
drops down.
Drops down.
And how would the truck get back there? Because there's a building, here's a building, here's a building, there's that house, there's this kind of pool, whatever terrace there. So I'm not sure how a truck could get anywhere else except,
What would you suggest as an
Well, I would
engineer?
look at this area, see what I could do. All right, look how small that dumpster is. All right,
This does go down.
it drops down.
It does drop down.
And I don't think you can get a truck down there.
Chris,
no, a truck is not going down there. This is gonna be a level driveway.
No, but how are they gonna pick up the dumpster? That's in the truck back into
The
that
dump, yeah,
and dump it?
yeah.
Same way it does this.
But this kind of drops down here.
This
I
is the
remember.
most level part and closest to the road. So that's probably why it's there and
That's exactly what.
kind of makes sense.
And it's off the edge of the.
Because I remember this was like a drop off down there.
I mean, you make good points,
Yeah.
but looking at the plan, I'm not sure where.
It's the most level and most accessible for a truck.
Again, I'm not here to design this for people, but this is an open area. This is an open area. This is relatively, it's not, these aren't super,
Well, this is gonna be flat, but do you want a dumpster
Right.
parked right in front of your front door?
well, it
You talked
doesn't
about-
have to be right in front of the door. It
I
could
mean,
be here.
these are, you know, these are all like your front yards, and that's again why we were,
Well,
this isn't really being used for anything over here. That's what, you know, we don't, if we go here, it's right in front of this guy's house, right next to the, you know,
It's gonna
visitor
be worse
parking.
for a sale, honestly, Robert.
I
think it works.
Any other comments? Plan, questions on the plan?
No, I think, I mean, not to rehash, I mean, I think I'm more okay with the dumpster being there, and I think if he runs into issues with it, you know, they'll attempt to make a change. And that may be coming back before us or not, or I'm not sure exactly.
My point is just to bring the topic up.
Sure, sure,
Yeah.
We talked about everything we
Appreciate
can
it,
think
yeah.
of, so
sure.
not necessarily opposed. so I
Sure,
wanna-
sure.
Okay. Discussed.
And so,
Next.
like I said, that's all, I mean,
Oh,
that's all I had. I don't know.
okay, so we
Got
did the pool,
the
we did the dumpster. we know
Did the mailboxes, we did the
Is there anything
dumpster.
else that you need to bring to our attention? Any referrals, or should, we can just go into that, go into the work session and discuss the decision?
Was there any discussion on lighting? Was that part of this?
Well, that never came up at a report for lighting.
I didn't see any comments on lighting.
And should there be?
I don't know.
There's nothing that requires any. I mean, each house will have obviously a light on the front of it, you know, at each entryway.
Well, I'm not trying to introduce a new topic at this point. Now we're ready to move this thing on, so I didn't recall if we had discussed it.
From Madam Chair, the peer review stormwater consultant is on line. I don't know at what point you wanna have him review.
Is that Mr. Walsh? Okay. Mr. Walsh? Would you like to make any comments?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Jeff Walsh, I'm with Graves Engineering. We reviewed the stormwater management aspects of the project. My first review letter issued on July 8th had nothing detrimental whatsoever. The biggest thing was number 3, and that was clarification of the hydrology modeling. That and the other comments were addressed, and I memorialized that with a follow-up review letter of August 5th. We have no issues with the stormwater management aspects of this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments that you would like to make?
The motion when we move this on. I make a motion that we go ahead and,
And approve it?
yeah, or,
We have to decide on the decision, well, the verbiage of the decision, which is in draft, right?
Right.
Okay, we'll discuss that later.
Okay.
But yes, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Yeah, right,
Okay.
okay.
So you have 3 applications and you would make 3 votes if you were going to vote on them today. We have an application for a special permit for an age-restricted development,
Right,
a special permit for site plan review, and a stormwater management permit. So you can take action, or you can discuss any conditions of approval the board might want.
what is the board's pleasure?
Are we moving to approve and then in the work session, draft the conditions and draft
We have to make 3 motions
right now on the, as a whole?
on each one.
I don't have any conditions off the top of my head that I see
I
needed or
didn't see
required.
anything from reading comments and
Okay, so how about if I take a motion on the stormwater permit, since we just heard from Mr. Walsh?
Sure.
Okay. To approve the stormwater permit. For 108 Fitchburg Road.
I'll make a motion to approve the stormwater permit for 108 Fitchburg Road.
Okay. Second,
I'll second it.
and Andrew will second. Any further discussion on the stormwater permit? Hearing none. Everyone just say aye. I don't have to do roll call.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye. Okay, that one is unanimous. And then for the permit for the 55 and over
Right, age restricted.
age restricted special permit.
I'll make a motion to approve the age restricted special permit
For 108 Fitchburg
for
Road.
108 Fitchburg Road.
Is there a second?
I don't mind sharing, Robert, if you want to.
I'm sorry,
I don't mind sharing if you want to second
we'll
it.
share it.
Robert, second. Any discussion on that? No? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Everyone's aye on that. And then the last one's the site review,
It's a site plan review special permit.
site plan review, special permit.
I'll make a motion to approve site plan review special permit,
108.
108 Fitchburg Road. I'll get that one.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
And Andrew seconds. Any further discussion? We will discuss during the draft of the decision, okay? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved.
Well done.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you folks so much.
Thank you.
Have a nice night.
You too.
Thank you.
You too.
Good night.
Folks, good night.
Good night.
Night.
Essentially.
So we have an appointment at 7:15 with you, but it's not a public hearing, so we can start early, okay? Everybody likes. Hi, Adam. Nice to see you. Good. Would you like to come to the table? Mr. Boyle? You can come too. I like to welcome everybody.
Joe Boyle from the MRPC. Are you the town council?
I am.
Okay,
Yes.
great member. Terrific member.
Which one are you looking at?
The analysis of the Affordable Homes Act.
Oh, yes,
Very
right.
good.
All the rage this week.
Do you run into that often, Adam?
What's that?
Positive commentary on legal memos?
No, I usually get this sort of snarky, thanks.
Not from the board of selectmen.
I was gonna say, not for me, for sure. Okay, so, the floor is yours.
All right, good evening, everybody. Joseph Boyle, Montezuma Regional Planning Commission. Before we jump into any of the projects we're working on, I just want to take stock of where we are. We have 3 projects that we're doing together: the MBTA Communities Act project, the accessory dwelling unit revision, and the site plan review special permit revision, which grew out of those other 2 projects. So I sat down today and looked at the different parts and what has to move with what, and came up with a plan for how to do all of these parts. Okay, so the first thing is the bylaw, the MBTA bylaw. As you remember, I created a little site plan approval within the MBTA bylaw that this will go in front of instead of going to your site plan review special permit. We decided that we have the same problem with ADUs. Those are if they go to site plan review special permit, that violates the newly passed state law. ADUs can't be by special permit. They have to be by right.
By right.
You can have site plan review on by right, but you can't have a special permit requirement. So it's the same situation as the MBTA law. We have to get rid of the special permit element of the site plan review in ADUs. And so what I've decided to do with that is the little section of normal site plan approval that I put into the MBTA bylaw, I'm going to take out of the MBTA bylaw and make it its own freestanding chapter. Then the MBTA bylaw can refer to it, and then the ADU bylaw can refer to it. And then when we go back and do the site plan review special permit, we'll just be taking out that site plan review special permit section and changing some of the references to go to this section. So approving map and the basic bylaw languages first, Next, I'm going to submit an MBTA pre-approval application once the board has settled on a map and a bylaw. After that, we go on to the ADU bylaw review process. I'll write that up, and this site plan approval section will make its way into the town's bylaws through the ADU amendment. The ADU amendment language will contain an ADU section, and it'll include references to special permits, or I'm sorry, to site plan reviews, and those references will go to this section. So sometime before February, there will be something done for an ADU amendment for the to put on the town meeting warrant, and that ADU amendment will contain a regular site plan approval section. Then, when we go back and do the MBTA bylaw, that will make reference to that same site plan approval section. Okay, so the order is approval of the map, this board approving the map and bylaw, submission of the MBTA pre-app, then we get to work on the ADU bylaw. We are expecting the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to come out with guidance and regulations about ADU bylaws.
They already have.
They came out with the law, and it says in the act there is language saying that the EOHLC has the authority to promulgate guidance and regulations to implement this law, and it's the only section of the law that they delay when it comes into effect. And so based on those two things, we've concluded that the state intends to issue some guidance, and that's why they've given that's why they've given some time before the law takes effect, so that they have time to come out with their guidance. Then communities can revise their bylaws based on that guidance in time for the February due date.
Just trying to update on that stuff. I understand it's going to be by right.
Yes.
They put some standards on it.
Yes.
As far as no more than 50% the size of the building, up to 900 square feet.
Right.
So then, so that was an executive order that now has to go into legislation?
No, that was the legislation. The governor submitted this bill, including this ADU language, to the House, and they passed their version. Then the Senate passed their version. Then they got together and passed a conference version, and then the governor signed that. Yeah.
So that already went through.
Yep, it was.
The legislature knows all about it. Okay. Now, my big question on that is because it's by right now. Do we still have a link with fair housing on this stuff?
No.
Good.
No, you ain't. This is one of the things that I came here to tell you tonight. I think it is extreme. The language in the act about regulation shall not prohibit, unreasonably restrict, or require a special permit or other discretionary zoning for a single accessory dwelling unit or rental thereof. I think that they would count your required affordable, the town's requirement that accessory dwelling units be affordable and qualify for the subsidized housing inventory. I think they would count that as unreasonably restricting the.
Yes, it is.
If you think about the MBTA law, they didn't want to allow any affordability requirement, and they eventually caved and allowed, grudgingly allowed a 10%. You're requiring a 100% affordability requirement. I really don't think that's going to fly. I think that's my advice to the town is that section has to come out.
Well, I don't know it in depth. I just know generally what's going on. The other, so that sounds very good. The other question would be, that I had was,
Adam, how does this affect our accessory apartment bylaw?
It supersedes it.
Okay,
So what we're recommending to our municipalities is if there are provisions in their existing ordinances and bylaws that conflict with the state law, you don't need to amend them because the state
can we
law will
just get rid of
control.
it?
However, it makes good sense at the next available opportunity, whether that be a special town meeting or the next year's annual town meeting, that you do make amendments because it's just, it's creating confusion in the
Yeah.
community because somebody reads the bylaw and says,
Absolutely.
it has to be attached, it can't be detached, or it has to be a family member
Yeah.
or a blood relation.
Right.
All of that's been precluded by the state legislation.
Okay,
So we recommend, and we're assisting many of our communities in doing a review of their existing bylaws. Some call them ADUs, some still call them in-law apartments, some call them
yeah,
whatever
Right,
they go by, and adjust the terminology to be consistent with the state statute and remove any restrictions that would be inconsistent with the state statute.
okay. But because in actuality, it's already law right now, state law right now.
It'll be law. So as was
Yeah.
alluded to, that's the only provision of the governor's legislation that had a 180-day clock before it went into effect. So it doesn't go into effect until February of
months.
next year. Correct.
Councilor, what's your take on that? Why did they give this a clock?
My only guess is what you alluded to, which is typically when they delay the enactment of legislation, it's because they want to provide the agency with whom they're providing oversight authority or interpretation authority the ability to create a process and procedure or a mechanism for oversight, or they want to promulgate regulations or a policy. I'd be surprised to see true regulations adopted pursuant to rulemaking procedures. That takes time. I also don't know why they need regulations. The
I was gonna say
legislation
the same
itself
thing.
is very specific. It's not, it
Yeah,
doesn't leave a whole lot to the imagination. It says, so, but there are some gaps that could use maybe some clarity through a policy document, like the MBTA community's 26-page policy document that they issued, right? So something that says we interpret unreasonably restrict to mean no affordability provisions, no restrictions relative to the proximity between a detached structure and the principal structure, whatever. So I suspect that we may see some policy implementation, some policy guidance. I don't think we'll see regulations, but that's the only reason I think why they would. That and the opportunity for communities to sort of digest what they've now seen in the state legislation and to maybe go back to the drawing board, although most communities aren't going to be able to do it fast enough to bring it to a special town meeting. So really, if they wanted communities to go to their annual town meetings and fix it, and they were adopting legislation in the month of August, they should have put like a calendar year effective date on it to allow communities to go to town meeting in the spring and fix it. But they didn't do that. So February is the effective date, and here we are in August. So it's going to be a bit late to try and fix these things before the spring in most communities.
but I was gonna say, it's really not a monumental fix if you know the sections of our bylaws that are gonna no longer apply.
well, we know what's going to apply. And so any
Yeah.
applicant now, obviously, we're going to be entitled to
I
it.
think sometimes they make something big out of something that could be quite
Right.
simple.
My next question was, it relates to both these, the MBTA subject and the accessory use dwelling unit subject. Is how does this work with affordable housing? I'm not sure I understand. Does this local community have anything to say with that or not? Or,
About affordable housing?
yeah, in other words, right now, we just had a approval for aging housing. And then the town has there are other programs and stuff for affordable housing, and another one for low-income housing, and another one for elderly housing, okay? So there are a lot of programs out there available to a lot of developers. So is there any language here regarding affordable or any of those other nomenclatures regarding accessory dwelling units, all right, regarding the MBTA units?
In the MBTA, let's answer the second question first. There's nothing in the MBTA Communities Act that requires affordable housing.
Right.
Look, both of these programs, the ADU revisions, promoting the accessory dwelling units and promoting the multifamily zoning in the MBTA Communities Act, those are both market-based solutions. Those are not affordable housing programs. Those are housing production programs. They're to increase the number of rental units available on the market. We have such a shortage of units in this state, especially of rental units. We could not possibly do affordable housing programs, which require subsidies, and scale it up enough to solve the problem. We need the market. And frankly, in a healthy market, the market is doing most of the work of housing everybody. You still got to have affordable programs for people that the market isn't serving down at the bottom. But that should be a much smaller segment than it is in our society. There's many more people who need to be in the subsidized housing universe because we have such a shortage. It's caused prices to spike. So neither of these are envisioned as affordable housing programs. They're envisioned as supply programs. There's housing supply. And as a matter of fact, they originally forbade affordability requirements in the MBTA law, and finally agreed grudgingly to include them in there. So no, these envision market rate rental units.
All right. So the point of my question was, knowing there are all these programs out there, how do we, in terms of a zoning bylaw, can we include any of those programs in this overlay district, or are they exempt from it? I mean, when you think of the...
What programs?
There are a multitude of subsidized developer programs for developers.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't really get at those through zoning. You don't really get at those through zoning. I'm here on these projects I'm working, all three of the projects I'm working on here, MBTA Communities Act, ADU, and the Site Plan Review Special Permit. These are all zoning programs. And zoning and subsidized housing overlap very slightly in terms of what's called inclusionary zoning, basically an affordability requirement in a project. But for the most part, those housing subsidy programs, they don't really relate to zoning.
Let me add to that. So there's a distinction between what you can require through zoning and what a developer has the right or ability to do. And so when we talk about MBTA zoning, we're talking about zoning at a density structure of 15 units per developable acre, right? We're talking about family housing that's suitable for families and not just for single individuals. These are the mandates of the programmatic mandates that the state has put into effect through the legislation and through its secondary guidance. That's what you have to adopt. That's what you have to create the structure for. That doesn't dictate what a developer will do. We have many communities saying to us, so a developer has to come in and build 15 units per acre minimum density. No. You simply have to allow that by right. I can come in as a developer and say, I envision a development for the site at a density of 8 units per acre, and I can make that work financially. So to tie that into your question about affordability, we're not restricting access to any of these subsidy programs. If somebody wants to come in and offer 20% affordability in an MBTA zone, they can do it. We're just prohibited by law from mandating 20% affordability.
My point was I wanted that everybody be on the same page with that. Okay. The second question that comes into that, this board has been talking about including things in our zoning bylaws to address wellness, physical and mental wellness. And it's an abstract thing, I understand, but in looking at this and envisioning what the town might like to see there, My concern is if we're gonna have that kind of high density housing, and we're at the mercy of a developer of what he is planning to put there, in other words, all 2 bedrooms or whatever, that is for the developer's benefit and not those of our town. And in terms of wellness, I would rather see our town being able to provide multiple unit types. And if we can control that, in other words, for different family profiles, have requirements that every unit has some outdoor living space available to it. And maybe a children's playground or a doggy park or whatever, so we can at least create a peripheral environment beyond the buildings for a quality of life there. And I want to know if we can do that or not.
One thing option that will remain to the town is your site plan approval, which will become a normal site plan approval. You can't deny site plan approval, but you can condition it. And that does give forward some back and forth with the developer in terms of design issues, provision of different types of infrastructure.
I don't see where the town would have a lot of strength in that kind of situation.
It's not like a special permit where you can turn down the guy's permit, but there can be a condition that you can put conditions on a site plan to require things. You can't require that half the property be built as commercial, or that you half the property as a park, or anything unreasonable like that.
Well,
but in terms of design and making sure that there are, an adequate provision of light and air and whatnot is being provided, you can talk design.
All right, so what we have at the table right now, okay, is the MBTA thing and meeting those requirements, all right? A change in our zoning to accommodate that, okay? So I need to know, or would like to know, so if that's the case, you're saying to us, we can have those kind of things in a site plan review? Do we have to define them in a bylaw to go with that? Or is it just, there's gotta be some tangible stuff there that people can rely on.
Yeah. Your regulation your overlay district can require adequate parking. You can set and that's right, we have on here an open space requirement of 65%.
Okay.
So I think between having, some dimensional requirements and standards in the bylaw, and then also having that site plan review, which allows you to condition things, then that gives the town.
So that would have to be this board would have to establish the guidelines and the objectives for that site review,
Yes.
right?
Yes, and that would be
So that's
part of the
another
overlay
task force.
district, and that would have to go, and that would have to be approved by the state or under their standard of you're not allowed has to be allowed by right. You can't unreasonably restrict it.
I just want to know if we have that opportunity here.
To a certain extent, but even more so than when the town passes a zoning amendment and it has to get approved by the Attorney General. This is going to have to get approved by the MBTA office, and if they think it's imposing too much of a burden, if they get a whiff at all that it's being done to drive down the number of units or discourage development, they're gonna knock it right out.
It's not to discourage development.
But reasonable regulation to provide for adequate provisions, some I wouldn't, you have to be careful about not going too far.
Okay, I'd like to circle back and try to get back to the agenda items that you're here for, okay? So we're gonna talk to us about 4 things today, and the first one being the draft Townsend MBTA multifamily overlay district revised bylaw.
That's right. I have brought copies of the last bylaw. You had a previous one from June.
Okay, good. Are there copies for everybody on the table?
Oh, there are copies already.
No, there's copies of town councils.
Oh, okay.
The comments that were.
Comments.
Okay.
Okay, so you can go over yours and then Adam, okay, you'll chime in, please?
Did you get this?
No, this is all.
I need a copy
Yeah, so
too.
these are.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, they took them too.
That's
Oh, this is Adam's.
Yes.
Okay, that's where I am.
What am I looking at for these comments?
So town council reviewed the bylaw a few weeks ago. I thought I sent it to you, maybe I didn't. It's
I think
been
you did.
available to
It
me
was
I
not,
think,
quite some time.
I think I have it.
So you need a copy and you need, you have one right there. I see it.
It's 2.2.
He has it right here. This one has town council comments. This one is his, this is town council.
Can I have this copy for a moment, please, Robert?
This one here?
I'll go make a copy for you.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Lori,
Okay,
yeah, because you just gave it to him.
okay.
You need one, Chaz?
Sorry, I'm just getting something to take my notes about your notes. All right, starting out.
So we got your draft before, and then town council gave his input to your draft. So I think we should go by any changes or the comments that Adam made, if you don't mind.
Okay.
do we have an updated draft? Is the draft you just circulated something that is newer than
It's-
June 26th?
No.
version?
There is only slight changes and it's not responsive to these comments. So
Yeah.
we can go over,
Okay.
it would still be useful to use that document. Yes, I still need your input on that. It's relatively minor.
Can you point out, the 2 minor changes that you said are different from what we got before town council got it?
Just taking a moment. Did I? Oh, they were based on the comments when I was here at the last meeting. I looked into it and confirmed, for example, that it does need to be the Boston affordable income standards. Remember that conversation? Did you want to use the Pittsburgh Leominster or do we need to use the Greater Boston income
Yeah,
standards?
because we're Middlesex, we're not the same.
Right, and yes, and so we have to use the Greater Boston. So yes, those were the changes. They were based on that.
Okay, and if you look at Adam's comments,
Yes.
they're commented on, they're pointed out on each page in the blocks.
Yes, this initial one, this is just purpose. This is just a purpose statement. We don't actually require any of the things or anything like the things that are in the box.
Oh, Adam,
What do you mean you don't require anything?
Your 3 of the following examples that would be inconsistent with the as of right, and they're listing the energy efficient standards, third-party certification, requirement that they must be combined with commercial and other uses. Right, we're not requiring any of those.
We shouldn't have to, right?
Right, we don't need to.
No, so let me be clear about what the comment says. So purpose A, subsection A, purpose, item 2 says that one of the purposes of the zoning is to allow for as of right multifamily housing to encourage, and then to support economic development and meet community-based environmental goals, including reducing greenhouse gases and improving air quality by incorporating green principles and environmentally friendly best practices. So when I read that as a developer, it's suggesting to me that one of the purposes, that's what the section is entitled of the bylaw, is to require me or to encourage me to reduce greenhouse gases, improve air quality by incorporating green principles, so green build out, net zero, whatever it might be. Well, the provision of the 3A guidelines specifically says you can't include requirements that multifamily housing meet higher energy efficiency standards than you require in other uses. You have nothing else in your bylaw that requires that of other uses. So, you know, particularly when this is a purpose clause, I just don't see the purpose of necessarily having it in there. It doesn't serve any objective
No,
in
and
identifying it as a
and a
purpose.
lot of
Oh,
this
let
is
me
being
answer.
covered in the building codes now,
Okay.
Yeah,
so.
let me answer that. Allowing the construction of multifamily housing instead of just single-family housing achieves those goals. That is the thing that the town is doing to achieve those goals. Allowing some of its housing to be built as multifamily. This zoning allows for as-of-right housing to encourage these things. That's what the housing being built as multifamily instead of requiring it all to be large lot single family. That is what is achieving these things.
I don't think it should be in there.
Okay.
If that, now, the fact that it hadn't occurred to me that it would come across that way,
Yeah.
it's not necessary in here.
Mhm.
It can
It's
be lost
covered other ways.
without doing any damage. So if you want comfortable without that, yeah, that,
And again, I'm just flagging things for the board. This is ultimately the board's decision. I just,
Yeah.
my colleague and I went through this and
Yeah.
sort of just made these comments as we,
Mhm.
because we've seen some of these things in other bylaws and
Yeah.
we flag the same things when we see them ourselves.
Okay,
yeah.
so,
And if they're
and
seeing
when
it
I
that
read
way-
it, knowing real estate and how the builders are, when I read it, I thought it was a point of clarification.
The fact that the attorneys responded that way, it worries me that the MBTA office might respond that way to it. We don't want them to respond that way to it, and it's not necessary in there. So if there's even a possibility that this is gonna be a problem, I'm comfortable with it coming out.
I'm okay with it coming out.
Right, thanks.
I'm sorry.
I'm okay with it coming out. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with coming out.
The next comment, okay, permitted uses. And the comment here is it must be 3 or more units to qualify. The MBTA Communities Act requires the town to allow multifamily housing. It does not say that's the only thing that you can allow by right in zone. So this is allowing more than just one thing by right in the zone. It's allowing multifamily housing, it's allowing 2-family housing, and it's allowing single-family housing.
Right, which is what we'd like.
Okay? Yeah,
What article was that?
that was D, permitted
D,
uses.
permitted uses.
Site plan review should not unreasonably delay projects or impose conditions that make it infeasible or impractical. Right. Oh, yes,
And this wasn't saying that these development
Yeah.
standards necessarily.
Okay, good.
Just the caution.
yes,
Just
good.
the caution.
Yeah, these are pretty, these are, there's nothing extreme or outstanding about these development standards. I wouldn't want you to suggest amendments that would bring them to something extreme. The MBTA office wouldn't like that. Let's see, next comment. Oh, dimensional standards, yes, so counseling. The way that this is set up, where it allows multifamily and it allows single and 2-family. One set of dimensional standards for multifamily, another set of dimensional standards for single and 2-family. These don't qualify towards the unit count.
Yeah, that's the same comment as it was made about. So that's fine. You're entitled
Yes.
to do it. I'm just telling you that they don't.
Towards the unit count. Rezoning, yeah. But since this is only a zoning project and it's not a housing production requirement, the only unit count we need to worry about is what we zone for. And because the developer has the option to ignore all of the single and 2-family option and go with the multifamily, and he can do that by right, then we've met their requirements, even though we're giving them a second ramp.
I think that's all right.
Okay, the workforce development units.
And this is just a definition issue. I don't think the
Oh.
term workforce development
You're right.
units is defined.
Yeah, that's where we,
At the beginning, with definitions.
I think it's,
You have workforce housing and you have workforce unit. So I think you just need a tweak on your definitions.
well, yeah,
Workforce unit should be called a workforce dwelling unit.
this is,
Oh, I see. Yeah,
confusing.
workforce. Yeah, what did I put?
You said the word.
Dwelling in C, in my definition, C15.
Yep, that's fine.
Good catch. Thank you.
we still on this topic?
You're under mandatory,
We're on I,
provision.
mandatory provision of workforce dwelling
I.
units.
Mandatory provisions, right?
Yeah.
One of the things that we've encountered here is when they refer to the area medium income, it goes to based on a countywide thing, which, and if we look at what's really happened here recently, there was an aging housing program that was approved, built, but the medium income is based on a higher proportion of our county population. And consequently, the developer has prices on these units that are far exceed what our local communities would be.
Yes.
So that's not helping our town and our town people or the people that we want to keep in town. So
I had originally put the Fitchburg Leominster area for the income limits for the housing, and
Did you talk to Bill
somebody
Justin?
pointed out, yeah,
I did.
I got such a, we have to use Great Boston.
Middlesex.
So that confuses me because how can they dictate what you have to use for an affordability requirement that they don't mandate and they would rather you not include in the program at all, right? So the affordability requirement, as you pointed out earlier, was never a part of MBTA zone.
No,
It became a part because communities demanded it, right? So they've now said, okay, but they've maxed it out at 10% unless you can provide a rationale for exceeding the 10%, 40 or otherwise. But now they're telling you if you're going to incorporate an affordability component at the 10%, they're now dictating what metropolitan statistical area you have to utilize as the basis for that affordability.
It's based on the regulations for the subsidized housing inventory.
Right, but
In
those
order
are-
for Townsend's Townsend's units to meet the go on the subsidized housing inventory, they need to be affordable based on the Boston, Cambridge, Quincy.
yeah, but it's true.
it is
It's
true,
true. Section 8 is the same way.
That's
Townsend is in Middlesex County.
right?
Oh,
Cambridge.
you're in Middlesex, you're right.
Right.
So
Yes,
that is
it's
your.
not
Right, so for
Hoover,
example-
it's not-
That is,
So
so
it's
that is your
that way.
metropolitan area,
The
correct?
very units I just referred to
So I guess.
are like 1,100 square feet.
Yep.
They're being listed higher than a whole single-family home with a half an acre lot or an acre lot.
Well,
For-
not really anymore.
Well,
Not really.
$500,000. And this is supposed to be for age housing.
Does it come with a bunch of
Yeah,
support
both of them.
services and stuff
Yeah.
out? Or is it just age restricted?
Well,
That's age
we
restricted.
approved an age
Yeah.
program,
Yeah, okay.
right, and gave him a special permit in the release.
Oh, under your special age programs that you get grants some
That's
zoning relief.
right,
because
we
it's
got
doing-
zoning relief for that. He built these units, right? And then they're small,
They're
they're,
just standard.
right, very low square footage. And you take that and put it on the market for 495,000 when 80% of the buildings, the homes in town don't even command that kind of fair market value.
Yeah, that's,
That's not true.
yeah, that's your single
Well,
family homes are.
Well, maybe not
That's not
85, but
true.
definitely at least 60%.
But your point is very well, is made perfectly well. Even if we say that the median single-family freestanding home, that these things cost as much as a freestanding, as a
Yeah.
1,800 square foot
Right.
single-family home, that would still make your point.
No, more like
So-
1,200 or 1,300 square feet. For something now, easy.
Mhm.
Timberley Park, so many going over 500.
Yeah.
More though.
So I found the provision in the guidelines that I was looking
Well-
for. So in the
They're
def,
just not selling right now.
in the definition of affordable unit in the guidelines, it says that affordable units may be, but are not required to be eligible for inclusion on the subsidized housing inventory. So I think the idea is, and I think this may be the answer you're getting from the OHLC, you may not be obligated necessarily to tie the affordability component to the Boston, Quincy metropolitan statistical area. But if you choose not to, then those units are not going to qualify for inclusion in the
Correct.
subsidized housing.
Correct.
So you can choose, you can dictate your own affordability requirements. That's
But they're
home
not
rule.
gonna
That's your
count.
purview, but they're not going to count.
So why would you add
Why
that?
would you do
You
it?
wouldn't add it.
Are
Because
you,
you're restricting somebody when you do that. And if it's not gonna count, why are you gonna do that?
right.
I mean, you're inhibiting the developer, which is bad enough now anyway. You know, as far as, just because the cost of everything has gone up.
So what's the pleasure of the board? What do you think, what's the conclusion from all of this?
Well, I think we've made a lot of progress, and I think,
I mean, about what we do with the affordable section, do we just leave it there and referring to the Boston Quincy metro
Yeah.
area? Oh, okay,
Because
I
that's
thought
what it is.
I thought you were going in the direction of not including. it.
No. I mean,
Okay.
that's what it
We're
is.
stuck
It may
with it.
never happen.
right?
Yeah.
We're stuck
We're
with it.
stuck with that. If, because we have to put the affordable into this now, because because the MBTA thing did it, we have,
You don't need to.
You don't.
Right, you're not required to put an affordability element in at all.
They've
You could
allowed it.
eliminate it.
They've allowed it.
They've allowed it. They originally didn't even want one, and they're grudgingly allowing communities to have one. I was proposing one, and I'm
Well,
telling all of my
I will-
communities.
Like, excuse me.
I will tell you that during the public comment period, there were people that wanted to have affordability in there.
Mhm.
If you're going to accommodate people who would like to approve the bylaw with the affordability in it, it has to be the Boston, it has to be Middlesex County,
Because
okay? If you want it to count, because the people who want it in there want it to count towards our affordable
Mhm.
housing count.
Yep.
So whether, and as you've been saying all along, this is just a bylaw, doesn't mean anybody's gonna ever do it. If we're gonna just comply with what they need, we have to have that in there. If we want if we want to appease the people that want the affordable in there,
Mhm.
it has to be affordable so that it can count. Therefore, it has to be the Middlesex County income level for affordable.
yes,
I have a big problem. I mean, we're mandated to produce so many units.
to zone for so many units.
Right.
No, I'm not talking about,
Oh,
we
We're
have
talking
other
about the zoning.
statutes
yeah.
that has to show that we have so many affordable units in our town, okay? So now that's all linked. So the word affordable is a legal definition tied to a standard in a more dense area with higher market value.
Yeah.
It does not need affordable in terms of a real person.
At
And
least not
Oh,
Townsend and
absolutely.
Ashby.
Yeah.
None of them do.
so
Not today.
I don't know what to do with this, but it's a real problem here.
Yes, yes, it is. Townsend, you
Yeah.
work at Ashby too?
I don't.
You don't?
No.
Okay.
But-
Townsend and Ashby, if I had my way, Townsend and Ashby would petition the state legislation to be moved into Worcester County. There's grant programs, there's all kinds of programs, we're counting them as part of Middlesex County, is
Yeah.
really working against them.
Okay,
That's
so
a good
that's
idea.
a
We're
whole
being
other
penalized.
thing. And I really would like to tie us
Yeah,
in here,
yeah.
Chaz. I know
Okay.
you're waiting to speak.
For somebody that's been working on the affordability
Thank you.
aspect of everything for 15 years now, I think it's more of a hindrance than anything else. I don't think it needs to belong in here. This has nothing to do with increasing affordable housing.
the affordable housing in Townsend is pretty much market rate for the rest of the state anyway.
Yeah.
Anything that's been built that is considered affordable right now is market rate. So
For our
for
area.
our area.
Yes.
So but the premise behind and this is just my opinion, the premise behind the MBTA is really to write a bylaw to be able to work within their guideline. Affordability was just thrown in. I don't even think it needs to be put in here. That's just my opinion.
Take it out.
How do you think that will, I'm good with it too, but how do you think that's gonna apply with some of the other vocal people?
But an
In town.
affordable clause in it for what? For the account on the
Yeah.
inventory?
Yeah. I know,
We're
you may never
slowly
see it.
dropping. We've had, when I first started this, we had what? We had 7% 15 years ago, 14 years ago, and now we're at 2 point something.
Wow.
You know, so we're never going to meet a 10% in this town. Every time that we have tried to increase the affordable anything in town, it's been shot down at town meeting. So, you know, I just don't think that you should muddy the waters with.
Okay, pleasure of the board.
Yeah, I agree. Let's take it out.
Sure.
I'm good.
Yeah.
There is one more point I'd like to make for you to consider. In the conversations, while working on the MBTA project in Leominster, MBTA Units project in Leominster, and they very much wanted an affordability element. And their reasoning was they foresaw the likelihood of these units being very appealing to people coming from our east with higher incomes than they have in this area, and that these units would sell for quite a bit more than the units in town, and they wouldn't be available to they wouldn't actually be available to most people living here, living in the community. And so the affordability element, it isn't to provide low-income housing for people of modest means. It's to make sure that some of the units that were being constructed were being sold at prices that are normal for the ordinary residents of this area. Now, that might still be might still apply here, but Leominster's in Worcester County, and so they're able to use those lower numbers. It might
Plus, the
still not be
people
worth
coming
it.
from the east,
Right, but you also
their
have,
income's gonna be too high.
correct, you also have a housing authority that has a voucher program that has.
Yeah, they have
a
programs there
whole,
and money.
office to be able to manage something like that. We don't have any management or support. So for you know, and this is coming from somebody who wrote the affordable housing and the accessory dwelling apartment bylaw last time it was around. If you are going to have some sort of bylaw for an affordable housing, it should be separate. It shouldn't be put in the MBTA. That's just my opinion.
I'm good.
Yeah.
We're all good.
I agree.
Take it out.
Good, take it out.
I don't think zoning's the best way to provide affordable housing anyway. All right, so let's keep going. All right, okay, the site plan review. Okay, and those were the end of council's comments. Do you want to add anything else? Okay. The last section is the site plan review. As I said, I am going to take with your approval. What I'd like to do is take this section and not have it be this J, not have it be item J in this in the MBTA ordinance. Have it be outside of the MBTA ordinance, floating somewhere in the irregular zoning, and the MBTA bylaw and the new accessory dwelling unit bylaw will both refer to it.
Right.
And then when we're doing the site plan review special permit project, we will basically be taking out the site plan review special permit section and changing where everything all through the rest of the zoning points. Some of it will be pointing to our new site plan approval section, and some of it will be pointing towards your special permit section.
I think that's a
the plan.
great,
That's my plan.
that's a great idea. I like that.
Okay. All right, so Okay, we've gone through the councilors' comments. I want to make sure get any other, is there any other feedback I need to get on this bylaw from the board?
I don't think it's been
I think
rehashed a lot.
You've got our opinion on a lot of these things already. So I think we want to pursue it that way.
Has the board defined a location with certainty for the actual overlay district itself?
We gotta do
Well,
that
we're
yet.
close. Right? We are
Were
close.
there were some comments about that, again, I didn't read everything in depth here, but some of the things I did read were coming about sidewalks and other stuff. So again, this was a cursory look at stuff. But that would be site plan review, right? If we do it this way?
You would, you would, your site plan review would still be in place.
Right,
and
but
any-
there was something in this that I read that was kind of requiring those kinds of things. And the way I read it, it was kind of implying that the town had to provide that. And some of the comments and where I read here about where we want to go were negative because it wasn't convenient to the central density of town. And
the last time we were talking about District 1 and District 3. District 1 way out by the edge of town on 13. District 3 is closer to the center of town.
Right.
And we discussed the advantages of District 3 being that there were other sizable residential developments in the general area. And so it could potentially create an area of where they're concentrated. It would be easier to provide bus service, things like that. It's also closer to the town center and could potentially be more supportive of businesses in the town center. On closer look, while there are sizable multifamily developments in that area, they're not directly adjacent. They're not very nearby it. It's not like it would be creating one concentrated area. Plus, the pedestrian environment along that road between these developments isn't very friendly. That's, I think, what we might be thinking, what I might have referred to as the town needing to provide that type of connection. District 3, it's closer to the town center, but it's not actually close enough to the town center to provide a real lot of additional benefit to it. It's closer to other fairly dense residential developments, but again, not close enough to it to really take full advantage of that. I think there are elements that District 3 has over District 1, but you really, really, really have to prioritize those in order to take the C pluses, B minuses that it offers on those categories and say, these are the things that we're going to make our decision on.
I'd like to discuss this as a group here. It seems like we have to present to the town one specific location. They don't have any other options than what we recommend. And so I think that would be problematic because they're going to say, why didn't you do this? Or why didn't you look at this space? And why can't we do it over there?
They're going to do that no matter what.
Yeah.
Huh?
They're going to do that no matter what.
I know, but
And I don't want to muddy
Didn't
the
we have a
waters.
feedback?
Right.
Don't muddy the waters.
Yes, sir. And I think what we'd have to do then is talk about how we've gone through a process and we did look at all of those, at a lot of different locations and then eliminated them for reasons.
right.
Yes.
So I agree. That's what we're going to have to do.
Okay,
Right.
so I'm going to go around the table. I'm pulling everybody in now.
Yes.
Andrew?
Sure.
What are your preference?
My preference is still District 3. Do we want to talk about our preference or just quick?
Quick.
Okay.
Mine is whichever the one was closest to the Lunenburg water
That's one.
supply.
Oh.
That's
the
District
Lunenburg
1.
That's one.
I know you don't have a vote, but I'd like to
I
hear.
don't have a vote, but I have a question first before you
Okay.
answer this. I don't understand what you mean by Lunenburg, but is town water going to these places?
Well,
That's what
okay,
we're
no, the
afraid
water
of.
Well,
department
we're
has come
talking
back.
water.
No. The water department has come back, and the plan is that they're gonna go to Lunenburg. Right now, they're past Emery Road,
Mhm.
which is closer to the District 3. Okay, so that it will hit District 3 before it hits District 1. But the plan, I believe, from the water department is that they're gonna be, and they will end up working with Lunenburg and charging Lunenburg. But that's their plan.
If you've been to
Go all the way
Lunenburg, they're
to
putting all new water lines right in now, which they didn't anticipate.
So the one that's further down, closer to the Lunenburg line is
Yeah.
one.
Yeah,
Yes.
That's zone 1, so that's where I think.
So in that regard, one of the concerns I have is this mandate came out of nowhere, meaning the government can come in at any time and up the ante and say, well, you need to provide this. In other words, just the way we're forced to provide this bylaw right now, they can easily
yes.
come back
many
and
other
say,
things.
you need sidewalks, you need this, it comes out of your money, and the
Okay,
Commonwealth's not gonna
everything
help.
that we're
Look at
doing,
the school.
Robert.
The school's
So
the same
Right,
way.
exactly.
Mandates,
And
we have to-
that's-
we have to accommodate.
Today, this is what's in front of us, to make a decision on which district we're going to put in with, because they're gonna do the same thing no matter what we pick,
Mhm.
okay? But because we have to pass this bylaw, we have to have a district with it, we're making a decision on the district. No matter what we decide, somebody's not gonna like it.
Mhm. Let's go
Oh,
on,
you already said, okay. And
is what I think. Gonna ask me?
oh, yeah, which one? You
Pick one.
know, I asked, I let everybody else do it quick,
All right,
and then you didn't do
So
a quick
I've
one.
been battering this around, and I'm trying to be non-biased because both of them are close to me personally. So the way I look at the Lunenburg site, 1. 2, my personal attitude is keep the land area as minimum as possible. I like the idea of separating so we could keep the commercial section, and maybe that other area could also be of use if we ever do tiny home kind of a thing, okay? So, but if I look at that property, that area, it's the prime piece of property in town. What happens if something goes on and we need commercial here because we can't get the Townsend or we can't get the Lemonster?
Which one are you talking about?
District 1.
Okay, so what's wrong with that? And I don't know, since when has it
No.
been prime? It would have been used already if it was prime,
We never know.
honestly.
No, no, right now, this community has been pretty much a residential agricultural community, right? That doesn't mean that's the way it's going to be 20 years from now, right? So I'm also concerned, that society changes.
Robert, do you have a higher level synopsis between the two districts?
Yeah, like which one?
Pick one. Just pick one.
One, it has to be the smallest.
Okay, which one's the smallest?
And if it's going to be District 1, I would go with the commercial part and the other part.
All right.
Personally, I would prefer District 3, like you. But that's a personal bias. And I don't think the town should be coughing up its best piece of real estate for this.
The town doesn't
The
own
town
it.
doesn't own it.
I mean, it's in terms of zoning. In other words, in terms of zoning, I know the town doesn't own it.
Okay, I can't do,
Where else are we gonna get commercial in town?
If I could make one point about the commercial development, because this is something at this location, because this is something that's been very much on my mind that we've thought about a lot about your commercial needs. That's why we created the L shape, for example. The property hasn't been developed for commercial. There hasn't yet been the demand for commercial. We're hoping there will be. We're hoping it'll come up with 13. But this isn't 1960, this is the 2020s. Mixed use is the name of the game these days. Having some residential within walking distance of your developing commercial site, that could be an asset for helping to promote its development.
Not to
Just
mention
sitting
a
out,
revenue source for the town as well.
That's where I started.
just
That's
sitting,
where I started, at
sitting out
the east
there.
end of town.
just sitting out there as developable commercial land this property hasn't attracted the developers. With some residents nearby, within walking distance, a sizable number of units, maybe that becomes a more attractive commercial development parcel. Maybe do it. Maybe and remember, we're talking about. See, Councillor, we don't need the whole lot in order to meet the unit number. So we only need a portion of it, and so we do some options for how to rezone some of it to the cover with the MBTA and leave the rest in commercial zoning. So that's developed for commercial. First we thought top and bottom, and then we thought of left and right. Left and right, didn't want to explore on the old city road, so we're making sure that they all have some connection out to the center.
And they don't meet the frontage requirements of the bylaws and drafted into this one.
Oh, well, yeah, certainly this giant, multi-acre parcel meets all the frontage requirements. The smallest one here is.
Oh, it all has frontage on Old City Road.
It has frontage on Old City and it has 100.
all right, we've already made our decision, it's 3.
Yeah.
That's great.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 3.
You guys decided that?
Yep,
Why did you guys go to 3?
I'm easy.
me too.
Fair enough.
I'm for 3.
All right. I do think it's worth,
Because it's, I
outside,
gotta
I do
make
think
it-
it's worth doing something with.
don't know if it'll
Which
ever be in my lifetime anyway. So,
Well, I wouldn't count on that, but
So we're going to have some more work to do back at the office now. If you go with 3, we had developed an option that's actually properly sized for to get the number of units you need at the 15 units per acre for District 1. District 3 was vastly oversized the way it was before. Even as it's shown on this
how
map-
many acres is 3, please?
I don't have the numbers.
Pretty big.
Okay, because,
But yeah, we'll have to go back and trim down, we'll likely have to trim District 3 down somewhere. This
yeah, but in
information,
all your other scenarios, there of 1. So what was your total acreage that you were doing in District 1? 12?
11 point something, yeah, it's
Okay,
just
fine.
about 12.
yeah, we needed like 12
Pretty
acres.
close,
Right.
Okay, so
Why don't you just work on that?
make
Yeah,
District
work on a
3
smaller district.
You're gonna go District
Well,
3.
just work on 12 or 11.1 or whatever.
Yeah, they are taking slope into account, and we haven't gotten really good slope data on it yet. So it might end up being total sized larger than District
Okay.
1, but developable size. We might need to include some non-developable land in it, just, if there's
Yeah,
some
yeah,
tough
yeah.
stuff and stuff. But yeah, it would work out to being developable with the
Okay.
same number of units.
Keep it conservative.
Do you think people would have more of an objection to 3 because it's near, closer to like Pine Ridge?
I don't know. I can't,
What's it across from?
Emery Road, more or less.
across from Emery Road.
Or,
Right.
no, I thought it's on the same side. I thought 3
It's like
was
right near
on.
the water tower.
Oh, yeah. So do you think people are gonna object to that?
I think
'Cause
by the
the-
nature of the size, it's like, has to be set back a ways. So I think it'd be tougher to.
I'm good.
I think the developable, portion, a lot of the developable portion of the land is by the road. It goes flat road and then it goes up towards the back very pretty steeply.
I don't disagree with the value that's come out of looking at District 1 and like thinking that I don't like the density necessarily there. I mean, I think it's worth outside of the MBTA communities, us as a board maybe looking at that and coming up with a mixed use or trying to zone that something and seeing if something comes out of it.
Well, my perspective on it is there was a planning board and a zoning board before that decided to keep that commercial. So that's the only really area in town where that's going to be allowed anymore. And why upset that, what I call reserve bank? And another time in the future, it could always go back to another use. If we take it,
Right now, they've decided for 3.
I am
We're
too.
on 3, so that's a unanimous.
So we don't
3.
need to talk
Yeah,
about it.
okay.
Yeah, so we're good.
All right.
So we're good.
We're good. District 3. Yeah,
This is all Adam's fault.
no, I wouldn't blame you for anything. Huh?
You asked the question.
EOHLC might want to know what the wonderful bylaws applying. to.
Okay, number 5
We're talking
is,
5?
column 5 here is our District 3 across from Emory Road. These first 4 are the 4 versions of District 1. The different shapes.
So 22.7 appears that.
Yeah, it's currently, the one we analyzed is 22.7 acres and it has a final unit capacity of 340, which is about twice as big. It's about twice our number, so.
So you
But
cut it
like
in
I
half
said,
and then
that's,
add in some excluded land.
That includes all of it, which a lot of it is not usable.
yeah, we're gonna have, we gotta get, I know our slope is wrong.
Well,
We want to just small,
Yeah.
whatever.
you know, when I think of the minimum we need is 12, whatever, and then we gotta deal with topography inside and all the other stuff. So also, I'd like to be able to put some of this wellness stuff in these projects and having more acreage available to do that might make that happen. You know what I mean? So I'm not opposed to increasing the acreage there. I mean, with the limit of what that has to offer.
Well, he just said you have to increase it over the 12 because there's not enough buildable land.
Right,
So you're gonna be unusable land anyway in
Right.
this larger parcel.
right, so we might as well,
Nice open space.
I think we might as
Open
well
space,
approve
there
the
you go,
entire
Yeah,
22 acres and
it's a thought.
leave it there.
Well,
You know?
you need to determine what portion of the site is not developable, because just saying we're gonna
Yes.
use the 22 acres and leave it there, well, 22 times 15 is gonna give you 340
Yeah.
units. And so even if you determine, okay, oh, it's really not 22, it's only 20, it's only 18, you're still gonna have 275 units when you don't need
Yeah,
275
we can,
units.
we can get back to you with more
Yeah.
specific geological information and
Right.
figure out how many gross acres you need to get your 12
Okay,
building.
very good.
All right, thank you.
Okay, what's next on your, list there for us that you need from us tonight?
Let me see. Oh, I was here to talk about the 4 projects.
Delta Grant Initiative, revision of zoning bylaw, section 14536, accessory apartments in residential district.
Oh, yes, the ADUs. We were talking about that. Yeah, I think we've kind of gone over, what I wanted to have tonight was a discussion of where we stand with the legislation. legislation's been passed. You've got the language in there of what you're required to do. And we are waiting for, and we expect that there's going to be at least some guidance coming from the Commonwealth. And the due date isn't until February. So I am waiting for that guidance to make sure that my amendment will ultimately, conform in any way that they want it to. But what I have been working on so far, the conclusions are, I was going to conclude for zoning reasons that the affordability requirement in the ADU bylaw needs to come out. It sounds like it needs to come out for some other reasons as well. That was really the big policy thing, a policy issue I needed to get your buy-in on.
And then
The one other, and I'm not sure I need an answer tonight because we're going to have a lot of time. But one thing I suspect is going to come out in the regulations is that they might distinguish between an ADU that is entirely within the existing footprint of a single-family home, an ADU in addition to a single-family home, an ADU in a pre-existing outbuilding, somebody putting an apartment above their old barn, and an ADU in a newly built outbuilding. I suspect they might distinguish between those in different ways and have different levels and allow different levels of review or allow regulations to apply or not to different types of ones. And I kind of wanted to plant the seed that is an issue that comes up, and also get some feedback about what you would like to see in your ADU bylaw. Obviously, it might be restricted some by the state. We'll see what we can do. But what is your vision?
Okay, so some of the things that could happen is an existing duplex. Do both of them have the right?
Good question. An accessory dwelling unit, by definition, is with a single family home.
Right.
Yes.
Okay? And
So,
not a two-family.
so no,
okay.
Somebody who owns a two-family would not have the right to build an ADU.
So what about a condo? Townhouse condo?
Only freestanding single-family
Single-family
homes are allowed
Okay.
to have ADUs.
Freestanding, okay. Okay. I wanted to be sure.
Yep. That's one, they have to be single-family. And, all right, by definition, an ADU is affiliated with a single-family home. They also have, in this regulation, in this law that was just passed, it says that in residential districts or in single-family residential districts?
Single-family.
In single-family residential districts, you have to allow this. Now, I live in Lowell. In Lowell, we have zoning districts that aren't single-family districts. We have two-family districts and we have multi-family districts. But within those we also have commercial districts and industrial districts. And sometimes we have pre-existing non-conforming uses in those districts.
Right.
We'll have single-family home sitting in an industrial
Oh my
district.
God, yeah.
Should the owner of that single-family home be allowed to do an ADU like everybody else in town with a single-family home can do?
Or what about
You're only-
denied use?
You're only, right, you're only required by the law to, that they must be allowed in single-family districts. I wanted to ask you, now, the way I had started writing my new bylaw, it referred to all single-family homes.
Also what, I'm sorry,
All single-family homes. The owner of any single-family home
in general, right?
is allowed to have an ADU.
Yeah.
Even if he has even if they have a single-family home that's a pre-existing non-conforming single-family home.
Right. I mean, how can you restrict that?
Yes.
It's,
The law says, you only need to apply this to your single-family zoning districts. I suggest that you apply it to all of your single-family homeowners in town. What do you think?
Yes,
if they're all freestanding,
yes.
Yes, okay,
wherever they are in whatever district they're in,
okay.
right?
I don't think we have single-family home districts.
All of
We
your,
have residential.
yeah, all of your
I mean,
residential districts are single-family districts.
Okay. Never heard
So,
them called that before.
so,
Right, and you, if you don't have any districts that authorize two families and multifamilies,
We don't.
you wouldn't really have any reason to specify their single-family districts. You just call them your residential districts.
True, okay.
Okay, it's, only one ADU is permitted by right. Any additional, one per lot. Any additional ADUs may be covered by special permit. So, as I write your ADU amendment, do you want a chapter that, a second ADU by special permit?
no,
No.
You're not required to have one.
Yes.
I'd be all right with it.
And the
Every
reason,
2 units on one property?
the reason I say that is, if it's allowed by our septic, whatever, you know, if it's permissible by the Board of Health,
if
I'll
it's
go back to that all
buildable,
the
if it's
time.
buildable, right, okay.
Because there isn't enough housing. And I do know people who have all their children who have moved back home. Okay, and there's 3 families, you know, in one house. And it's for various reasons, you know, whether it was divorce or one of them died or, you know, it's for various reasons. So if the property can accommodate it via the Board of Health to give an occupancy permit, I think we should have language that allows that to happen.
So we would keep
Who is it
our
gonna hurt?
ADU special permit for everything beyond
One.
the one of right.
For what it's worth, I don't think you have an option.
What do you
I-
mean?
I
You
don't
can't
read-
do it?
I don't read the legislation as giving you the ability to say no to a special permit requirement for a second ADU.
No?
Legislation uses the word shall.
Oh,
It says there shall be a special permit for more than one accessory dwelling.
well, I really think it's a good idea if it's allowed.
Now, if they do indeed adopt regulations or policy, I've known the legislature to turn shalls into mays and mays into shalls, or not the legislature, the agencies that they vest with the authority to interpret their legislation. So it wouldn't shock me if they look at that and define it differently, but it does say shall.
Yeah, yeah.
I would
I'm changing my opinion.
let that be something that you can look at.
Well, if you have, in some instances within this municipality, there are people who have, let's say, an ADU above their garage, and they also have a barn. Those are
Yeah.
2 separate
Right.
ADUs, if you look at it that way. And if you had it by special permit, you'd be able to see that, and it's gotta go past. I agree with you, you always go to Board of Health. Board of Health is gonna
Yeah.
pass it anyways.
Yeah. And in actuality, it's the most affordable way, because of land and all that other stuff, most affordable way to get another place to live. So, yeah, I think that's
Okay.
important. For the
Okay.
future, I think that's important.
I think so
And we
too.
could have helped the last 10 years too, but, yeah. What else?
At least there's hope.
Okay, I wanted to, everything else is just for informational purposes, and the counselor lays it out very well, so read this closely. This is all good information. A couple of points that he makes in here is we can no longer require that it's family.
Yeah.
No longer requires regulations. Okay, it just has to be a unit on the open.
Right.
Mhm.
Oh, there's parking. You can only require one parking space per accessible unit. And actually, you can't even do that if you're within a half mile of transit. You're not. It says half mile of transit. It's half mile of a
I thought
transit station. It was like an MBTA station. They just, you can still require a parking space if you're within a half mile of the bus stop. Yeah. And
Well, that's probably all
yeah,
right.
I think that, yes,
makes
those,
sense.
just providing that information and asking about those two things, which the councilor is now convinced me is only one open policy question, is what I want to talk to you about the ADUs tonight. And what I do next is wait for some guidance to come out from the state. I suspect they'll answer that. I suspect they'll be very clear about that question about the second one. All right. So that was the ADU discussion.
Yeah, and next is the site plan review special permit
Okay.
revision.
Yes, and my news on that is what I was telling you before. We're going to create one new site plan approval section. It's going to be outside of both the MBTA and the ADU law, and they'll both refer to it. And then eventually, your whole zoning code will refer to it.
Is that those aren't the only two things that require a site permit, right?
No, there are many other things that require site plan review special permit, and this is going to be a lot of teasing out over the course of this project and going over this.
Can they all be put in one?
They can. So I don't know if I've had this discussion with your board before. I know Beth and I have had the conversation about the way that Townsend chooses to qualify its site plan approval. So if you read the Zoning Act, the state law that operates as a framework for planning boards and zoning boards throughout the state to grant relief, the Zoning Act refers to variances, which of course you don't issue as a planning board. Variances are issued by the zoning board.
Yeah.
The Zoning Act refers to special permits. You issue many of those as a planning board. The Zoning Act actually doesn't refer to this concept of site plan approval. So back in the 70s, communities began creating this process of site plan approval that was completely a creature of municipal governance. They just said, we want some other way to look at projects, mostly by right projects, but we want an opportunity for there to be a check for a by right project to come before us so we can at least look at it and say, oh, you should shift the entrance a little bit, and you should replace those arborvitae with some elm trees, things along those lines. The site plan review process got challenged in the courts, and here's what the court said. The court said in the mid to late 1980s, in that case, Prudential versus Board of Appeals of Westwood, it was a seminal case. You hear the Prudential standard referred to all the time when people refer to site plan review. What the Supreme Judicial Court said in the Prudential case was, it's okay for communities to create a site plan review process, even though it's not referenced anywhere in the state law and the Zoning Act, as long as boards realize that it's a non-discretionary process. They can't use it to say yes or no. They can't reject projects through a site plan review process. It's just an opportunity to look at a project and to shape the project, to deal with things like landscaping and lighting and just the layout of the plan.
Conditions.
Right, condition it reasonably, but in conditions that aren't so stringent that they prevent the development from occurring. Great, so now it's clear. Now you have variances, special permits, both of which are very discretionary. You can say no to a special permit if you choose, whenever you choose. Special permits are discretionary. And then you have this outlier called site plan review that is not referenced in the state law, but the courts have said for 50 years now, 40 years now, it's okay to use that process as long as it's non-discretionary. In Townsend, and you're not alone in doing this, you decided to complicate things. And you combined site plan review with special permits, and you called it a site plan special permit.
That wasn't me, I swear.
A lot of communities did this back in like the 90s, right?
Creative.
So you have a site plan process that's supposed to be non-discretionary. Because you've tethered it to a special permit, you attempt to retain that discretion. Of course, in your bylaw, the language doesn't even suggest that you're retaining any discretion. It sounds like if you read the language of the bylaw and you didn't read what you were calling it, a site plan special permit, I would think as an outsider, this looks to me like it's typical site plan review, non-discretionary, to be distinguished from a special permit. But then you look at the title and you say, yeah, but you're calling it a site plan special permit. So our advice, and again, Townsend's not alone here. Our advice in the many communities where we've been asked to come in and recodify full bylaws or assist planning boards in tweaking their bylaws to make them more user-friendly is to do away with this concept of site plan special permits. If you
Okay.
want to make it a discretionary special permit, call it a special permit. Just make it discretionary. Then you can say no. If you want to just have an opportunity to look at it, because it's mostly a by right use and you just want to be able to shape the project, but you don't want the discretion to deny it, which in fact provides you with a bit of cover when you've got residents that don't want something and you say, hey, we have to allow it. We're just here to shape the project. Then call
Yeah.
it site plan review. But pick one or the other and don't combine the two. So I think that's what's being suggested here, which is we're going to create a self-contained section called site plan review. We're
Okay,
going to eventually do away with your section called site plan special permit. And
right,
then we're going to go through all of your bylaw. We're going to find every reference to a site plan special permit, and we're going to make you choose. Which is it? Is it site plan or is it special permit? And coincidentally, we're doing this at the same time as you're addressing ADUs and MBTA zoning, both of which have to be non-discretionary. So we'll call those both site plan review. So it's a great time to do this because you're killing like 2-3 birds with one stone.
okay, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, board?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Excellent. Okay.
Let's go with it.
And part of MRPC's review and work on this will be looking at the whole bylaw and all.
Oh,
the-
yes,
Yeah,
that's,
this is
that's,
all-
that's in the
Alright.
scope. We got,
Yep,
Counselor, we got a grant,
Yes,
PAG,
we
a
did.
planning assistance
We
grant for this particular project, and it's fairly sizable, and we left a fairly long, scope, because this isn't changing one section. This is the whole bylaw we have to go through. And
Yeah.
and it isn't just making a technical change to conform with the law.
Right.
These decisions about what's gonna be site plan review and what's gonna be special permit this is real substantive planning that, those are important decisions, and I think it's gonna be a good process.
we're excited.
Now's the time to do it.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, because we got the grant money to
Yeah.
do it, so. Alright, so
Were those
does-
all of my things?
Yes, those are all of your things.
Okay,
We thank you
this
very
has been lovely. I noticed one other item on your agenda tonight, item 3.6, update planning board implementation progress on town city master plan, hazard mitigation plan, and municipal vulnerability plan. We wanted to, MRPC wanted to let you know, we know we're not involved in these projects, but as you go into your implementation phases, if you were looking for grants for any of those, we'd be applying for grants for any of those, or finding out which grants to apply for to help implement those. We'd be happy to help you with that. We pursue grants for you. We hired a new grant writer who's excited to get into all of these things. Or if you decide any of them need updates and you'd like some help for that, we can pursue grant money for that as well.
Okay, I would, welcome comment from Beth or Chaz.
Updates for the MDPH and the hazard mitigation.
What's that?
The town will be needing an update for the MDP.
Hazard mitigation,
Combined municipal vulnerability plan and hazard mitigation plan. They're combined document.
And you're gonna need an update?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, I'll make a note of that. And you work on those together? For.
and what about the approval of the stormwater management application changes? Do you have that for us?
Those were numbers.
Sorry about that, we seem to be running over.
But that's okay, because those have to go to public hearing, and
Okay,
we can do that at the public hearing.
Okay, good. all right.
Regulations can go.
Thank you, Joseph.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Meeting tonight, I suspect we'll be in touch. There's timing on
We're
that.
doing
That
more
was
than-
impeccable.
We'll be doing a decision.
All
on
right,
one of
have a
these.
good evening, everybody.
You too. Thank you very much.
Good night. Okay, no,
You just enjoy your company.
only if you want. What about Adam? Does Adam have to be here for our decision on, would you suggest Adam be here for our decision on 108?
No, that's just, board can do that and I'll write the decision, and then if you want him to review the decision.
It's a progress here.
It's gonna have any project districts.
Thanks, Joe.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Jess.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Evan.
Maybe discuss timing
Of what?
of the MFOD, town meeting, that kind of thing, scheduling,
Jazz?
without management.
Jazz? Adam?
The timeline
or
to bring this to town meeting. What is the timeline?
which town meeting?
That's what I'm asking, yes, I thought the board might wanna, schedule that, I know you had mentioned something in an email about.
So our recommendation has been, your deadline is December 31st of 25, because you're an adjacent small community. That's the last of the categories of deadlines. We're suggesting to communities that they attempt to do this in the spring, because if you don't get the requisite vote, you at least get another
Right.
shot at it in the fall. We have some communities that are interested, not many, but a couple that are interested in doing it this fall. Number one, I think it's probably too much of a squeeze. I don't even know if are you doing another town meeting in November?
Yeah, we haven't even done that.
All right, so you could
Let's go over the
August
20th first.
right.
Yeah.
So you could attempt to do it in the fall, meaning October, November, December, if you have a further town meeting. The challenge there is that we recommend that you submit, and you heard what's his name? Joe. You heard Joe reference submittal to EOHLC. They will perform an interim review to determine compliance. So we suggest that. We also suggest you submit it to the Attorney General in advance, because the AG's office will also do an interim review. And both of those are required for after the fact for ultimate approval under the legislation.
And
So
we have to have public hearing.
you have to have a planning board public hearing. So there's a lot to accomplish prior to town
before
meeting.
spring.
In addition to that, and not that I'm saying wait on this necessarily, but as you know, the town of Milton has challenged the MBTA
Yeah,
zoning law.
anything yet?
Well, no, they're scheduled for oral argument in front of the Supreme Judicial Court in October.
Okay,
So they're going to be heard in October. Generally, it's 90 to 120 days after argument for a decision. They may expedite this because they know many communities are waiting, but I would expect we'll have a decision sometime in the February, March timeframe of next year. So,
but by then, wouldn't we want to have whatever we decided before the Attorney General?
I think you would. I mean, you've got it drafted already, right?
Yeah,
So there's no
yeah.
reason to hit the stop button on it. But my point is,
Okay,
I don't know that you need to rush to town meeting in November to adopt something that
Okay.
you could then find out you didn't need to adopt. Maybe
Yeah.
Right,
that
Okay.
presumes that the SJC rules
Yeah,
against the
So-
Commonwealth. But so
we'd
I
be
think
looking at
aiming for
spring.
the spring is
Yeah.
probably makes some sense.
okay,
All right.
that's the
And,
plan.
and given where you are, that really shouldn't be a
we
problem.
can have public hearings ahead of that.
Okay,
Yeah.
you good with that?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, in our work session, we're not done, guys.
We're
just getting started.
Final location selection of board for the Townsend, chapter 40A, section 3A. Oh, isn't that what we just did? That's what we just did, right? 3.1,
All done with
Yeah,
that?
We
So,
did,
Yeah.
meaning number 3, right?
yeah.
You're on 3.4
Okay,
and 3.5.
3.4 and 3.5, okay. Oh, because we did those things.
Mhm.
All right, 3.4, draft decision for 108 Fitchburg Road, age restricted development. Okay. So do you have the draft? Do we have the draft?
No, the draft decision is not done, so you can,
Well, we gave you the motions.
right.
Was there anything that any board member felt needs to be written in as a condition, other than what we already voted on and said okay to? Like, the engineer, Mr. Walsh, is fine with whatever the stormwater permit was. We made some suggestions and they complied in their new plan as far as writing the tree thing, the mail hut thing. The pool is the Board of Health, so really not in our decision. He's not gonna get a permit for it anyway unless he does their thing. And,
So the open
What's the other
space
thing?
thing, Maybe you want to talk about the open space in the bylaw. It's, required to have conservation restriction, remember?
Yeah, well, what has Jessica said about that?
Well, she did make a comment in one of the mandatory referrals.
Okay,
I printed them out for you.
yes, you did,
I don't
and
know. Let's see if we can just look at the open space.
2.1.
For 94 Pittsburgh Road, I think we discussed the timing of the conservation restriction because it was difficult to achieve.
this is the last one,
Okay, so yeah,
it's the building inspector.
okay, so how about I just read it?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so this
I
is
can't
from
find
the
it.
bylaw, number 7. The minimum common open space in the development shall be 30% of the lot area, and not more than 25% of the required minimum common open space shall consist of wetlands. They're fine. The upland open space shall be contiguous and usable by residents of the development. A permanent conservation restriction running to or enforceable by the town shall be recorded for the common open space area and shall include restrictions that the land be retained in perpetuity for conservation or passive recreation. Okay, so for some reason I thought there was like a clause that they had to do it before.
This is like a 4-acre parcel.
Yeah, and the open space is contiguous, right?
Well, if we're talking about where they drive in and there's nothing behind where the septic system is.
Yeah, I seem to remember there was, and I'm not seeing it.
Do we know from the plan how much, open there is?
Oh, they definitely meet the requirement of 30% of the lot area.
Fine, so just why don't we just write it that way in the decision?
Okay, just say that, because, yeah, there was, do you remember there was something about the timing of the conservation restriction? Wasn't it like they were,
I don't.
I thought with the other project they were, because those take a long time, remember?
What do you mean by timing?
There was something that we had in there that, in the other decision about the conservation restriction and the recording of that, and the timeline of the project.
Can we as a board delegate our chair to work out?
Okay, yeah.
We can do that because
I remember
So
something
what is
that,
a conservation restriction on that?
it's
property?
about the open space.
yeah, it has to be held in conservation restriction and those.
Open space.
Okay. I don't know.
And so it has to be like documented, is that what you're saying?
Recorded.
Recorded.
Yeah, it's a legal document, it's a process, it's a long process, but,
Oh, is it?
Well,
Okay.
and that has to be done by the applicant, but it has to be held by the town. And I just seem to remember something about timing and it being a little bit difficult to get it done, and I think.
So is this meeting has to happen?
are you talking about like Campbell Farm?
No, 94 Fitchburg Road, the last one that we permitted, the age-restricted development. And I'll go back and look at the draft decision.
Yeah,
Yeah.
do that.
And, because I know everything is fine in terms of they've met the criteria, but I just seem to remember something about.
Okay, just do how we decided before and send that to me.
Okay.
And see
I
if
use the
it
same.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would use the same. I don't want to make any different,
Okay.
you know?
Perfect.
Because it's the same type of project. It's a 55 and over that we're doing. I'd like to see the same.
Excellent. All right. I'm actually using that as a template. So, yeah.
Good, good.
I'm adding in the stormwater management permit.
That's good.
Okay, so what's next on?
That's that for 108. I would say, the next one is to appoint a planning board representative to the capital planning committee for a 3-year term, until June 30th, 2027.
I guess.
Yeah, I heard a nomination for Carol.
Seconded.
Okay.
You sure you don't?
And she has accepted.
You should, I
You
mean,
want to vote on
We're gonna
that?
hold the chair up.
I know I can. and you've done bylaw and whatnot, so.
I'm sorry?
Unless, do you want to be on,
Do
do
you
you
want
want to
to
be
do
on
the
capital planning?
No.
What else do you need?
I think that you guys took a formal vote for Carol or?
There was a
Motion
motion
and
and
a
a seconded, and, any further discussion? I can't make the motion. Actually, Robert did.
Okay.
Okay, and, any further discussion? Everyone in favor, say aye. Aye,
Unanimous.
it's unanimous,
All right.
and Carol accepted,
It's somebody gonna tell me when I have to show up.
probably.
Yeah, I will help you with that.
And is that our full agenda? Because I always lose it. I had 2 copies of the agenda.
And you took care of 4.2, unless we have the correspondence for, 4.1.
I have correspondence.
Thank God.
Let's see, there is a special town meeting coming up on August 20th at 7 PM. I don't need to read this whole thing, right?
No, just do the bullet.
The bullet points on
Yeah.
the special town meeting?
No, is it our special town meeting?
It ours.
Yeah,
Oh,
Ours?
yeah, we
Yeah,
all know what
we-
it is. It's for the budget.
Oh,
budget.
Again?
This is the 20th.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay,
so
no more.
make sure you attend.
yeah,
Alright.
they need
Add
to
that
put
if you
those
want.
signs up at
August
the corner
20th.
saying town meeting the
Yeah,
20th.
Sure,
It's
sure.
everywhere.
Next Tuesday, Robert, at 7 PM, next Tuesday.
You gotta go vote.
Okay.
Tax dollars.
Town, notice from the town of Lunenburg, their planning board for a public hearing Monday, August 12th at 6:05 PM. I wonder if it's still going on. The subject property information is 3 Lancaster Ave. The owner is Art Calviolo on 3 Lancaster Ave in Lunenburg. Materials are available at the town planner's office. Does it say what it's about? Applicant for a special permit, by Alpha Graphics for a freestanding sign. Okay. Legal notice, Town of Townsend Conservation Commission. Will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, August 14th at 7:15 PM. A notice of intent filed with the Conservation Commission by Mass DOT. The project is the culvert under Route 119, Main Street, approximately 100 feet west of the intersection with Edward Road. Notice of intent was filed retroactively for structural repairs following a head wall and embankment collapse, which resulted in a blockage of the upstream end of the culvert. The work occurred in the land underwater riverfront area and the 100-foot bordering vegetation wetland buffer. Parties wishing to speak in support or opposition to this application may do so at the meeting or in writing prior. Copies are available to town hall.
But this is already done.
It seems it's already happened, so make sure
It was
you
an emergency.
comment.
Yeah.
It'll be well received.
You gotta like if you oppose it.
Yeah, bummer. The town of Groton. This is from the Office of the Planning Board regarding public hearing notice, proposed zoning bylaw amended, solar parking canopies. The Groton Planning Board will hold a virtual public hearing Thursday, August 22nd at 7:10 PM to consider a proposed amendment to the Groton zoning bylaw, Chapter 218. Proposed zoning amendment will add provisions to allow solar parking canopies as accessory uses in all zoning districts. Additional copies and information available at the town clerk. The town of Groton again, Office of the Planning Board, public hearing notice, a proposed zoning bylaw amendment, the definition of age-restricted housing. Groton Planning Board will hold a virtual public hearing on Thursday, August 22nd at 7 PM, 10 minutes prior, to consider a proposed amendment to the Groton zoning bylaw definitions. It will revise the definition of age-restricted housing to require the affordable units to qualify for inclusion on the state's subsidized housing inventory and to comply with the Federal Fair Housing Act. I don't know.
How they would, I mean, they could certainly make the bylaw, but I don't know how it's gonna be used.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you, Andrew. And 4.2 memorandum, planning board from Joseph Boyle, regarding the MBTA community. That was just something we got, right?
Yeah,
And it's in the
discussed.
portal. Yeah, okay.
As discussed earlier.
All right, 5, education and training, 5.1, state ethics commission, free conflict of interest law training webinars, Thursday, September 26th. 5.2, citizens planner training collaborative, CPTC, and the website is there. 5.3, Townsend, Mass. Online code searching tools, training videos. Is that for our town site, website?
The Townsend code, all bylaws and
Oh,
regulations. And you can also do multi-town searches if you're looking for bylaws.
oh. So far, I haven't been too successful, our new site, our new site. Look what happens when you're used to the old site.
Yeah,
The old site was better. 5.4, new planning board member resource library, that's just a note, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then our next meetings are August 26th, which everybody knows I'm not gonna be here, and September 9th and September 23rd. And anything else from anyone?
Can I just ask when you will be leaving, because you're gonna be signing the decision for the 108 Fitchburg Road. I'll need to get your signature before you leave on the decision.
Okay, I leave, 24th of the 25th. Okay, I'll let you know.
Okay, yeah.
We'll try to get it done if you can before the 21st of August.
I'm definitely, yeah.
Ready to go, what time?
About decision, for the decision for 108, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you mean? Yeah, okay.
In 14 days, but.
Motion to adjourn.
Absolutely.
I'll second it.
At
You're here.
8:54 PM. And everybody say aye?
Aye.
Everybody's in agreement. 8:54 PM.